And it's another edition of Hoops Adjacent on the Athletic NBA Show. David Aldridge here in DC. Unfortunately, those Wizards find new ways to blow leads in the fourth quarter. Blew another one in Toronto last night. I don't even want to talk about it. I want to talk about better and more positive things with our man Bastien from Trash Talk. The man, the myth, the legend, all things French basketball, all things Europe basketball. Bastien, thank you for joining us again. Marcus will jump in when he can get in. You know, he's always late. So
Yeah. Thank you, DA, for the invitation as always. But we'll wait for Marcus. It's fine.
No, we'll go ahead. He can just jump in, But you were here. I wanted to start with this. You were here for Wemby's first game. You were here for a few days, right, in San
Yeah.
Antonio. And how much more could you get done being here in person on the ground as opposed to trying to report from France?
Well, it was crazy because obviously most of the time we witnessed the games from afar and during the night, so it was good to see the craziness from that close. I think it was amazing to see a marquee game because I think it was nationally televised against Luka
Yeah.
Doncic and the Mavs as an opening tip, and so I think it was two sides of the stories because I was able to be close to Wemby and his group, and so that was one side of it, and as well I was close to the Spurs, so I think it was really a double experience. And the scenario of the whole thing, because I was there for two games, the first one against Dallas and then the second one against Houston. The scenario, the script was amazing because they really were there against Dallas in the money time. And then Luka did Luka things, obviously, in the end. And then what is interesting is that we don't see this and we don't live this in Europe for when you are an NBA fan. You could see and feel the atmosphere in the city of San Antonio following the loss.
Yeah.
And so people were kind of down because there was all that excitement, and then there was the preseason game against the Heat where it was crazy, doing stuff that you have never seen before. And then everyone comes back for the Rockets game, and then they win. So it was quite amazing. Not gonna lie.
I'm sure you know Boona and most of the people in his camp, as well as Wemby and his family. But what is your view of his support system? Because I really am impressed so far with the kind of sobriety that they have approached this with. Like they've been planning this for years, so it's not like they just are being overwhelmed by the moment. They've kind of built this for this moment. Like they kind of expected this, and I just wonder
Absolutely.
what, right? So
Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% correct. I think it's credit to Buna and his whole team because it's not as if they were there for like the last 2 weeks. They've been there for so
yeah,
many years, and so it was a big moment. I think they're handling it really well. Going back to a pod that we did in, I think it was last June, around the
yes,
draft,
yeah,
and we were talking about the mental aspect of Wemby, and I think that's what I was most excited about for the Americans to discover is that this guy first, Victor, you can see the maturity and the fact that he's never too high, never too low. That's how it is. And
yeah,
then his parents are athletes, both. And
right,
so when you are surrounded and molded by athletes and parents, I think you've seen so many players, DA, where sometimes you only get my parents were both athletes, but you rarely see my parents were both athletes and highly educated and made sure that I had not only sports but everything in life. You know what I mean?
right, yeah, yeah. There's a balance there, right? I mean, it's not just this is our ticket out of whatever trauma we're in,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Like,
no, yeah, no, definitely. They really made sure that he had everything. So sometimes we like to laugh to know when a French player comes in how well spoken he is in English, how fluent he is in English. You can see it
mhm,
right away. He's learned how to handle that kind of moments. He's not phased by all this. He's just he. I think he's more down because of the losses and the fact that
yeah,
sometimes you have to learn that there are tight defeats and there are ups and
yeah.
downs. But never gonna be worried about the mental aspect because he's that skilled psychologically, I would say.
Yeah. What did you learn, or who, in terms of how the Spurs are handling this year, this first year? And I cut this obviously they got the new practice facility that they've spent a
Yeah,
lot of money on, and they
yeah.
really are excited about the ways that they can help players develop. But what did you learn about the organization when you were down there?
I think, well, first, I think I've been able to sometimes see some different franchises, and you can see sometimes where they're a little bit too tight and when they don't
Yeah,
let the approach. I think I really respect the Spurs for the fact that they understood the magnitude of the moments. So I'm not gonna lie, there was like I talked to Andrew Lopez from
yeah, yeah.
ESPN about all this because he was there covering the Spurs, and I think he's doing it for like the whole season.
Right.
And it was 50-50 French journalists and 50% American journalists. And
Sure.
so I think when you see this happening, it could have gone so many different ways. But I think the fact that at each and every press conference or moments, there were like US media moments and
Yes.
French media moments. I think it was
Yeah.
well handled. I think they opened the door more than I thought they would. And they were right to do it because that's how you promote, to my knowledge, that's how you promote a franchise and its values. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Were you close to like the whole Cavs and LeBron when he came in, or were you
Sure.
far from this? Yeah.
Oh, no, no, no. Sure. No, I was there. I
Was
was
it
there
was
for
it
all of
tight?
it.
Like they closed the doors,
I
or?
mean, some of it was at the beginning, especially when he came back, like
Oh yeah.
the first 7 years when he was there, it was there was a lot of protection of him because he was young, he was a kid.
Yeah.
But when he came back, he, was completely different. He was a global figure. He had won
Oh yeah.
championships in Miami, and he kind of set the tone. Like, I'm only going to do so much media. I'm not going to do a ton every day. Um, and most people, I mean, it was fine. It wasn't what I think media wanted, but it was fine. You got him before every game. It was fine. It wasn't for very long, but you got him. So
Yeah.
um, I am very curious about how the Spurs handle this, because the Spurs are notoriously a very kind of secretive organization, in terms
Yeah.
of their front office, and their players. Even though they've had superstar players there, but David Robinson was a very quiet, reticent guy, didn't
Yeah.
say very much. Tim Duncan said nothing,
Yeah.
right? He didn't have anything to say. Kawhi, very quiet guy.
Yeah.
Tony was probably the most, out there guy of the group, the most
Yeah.
public facing guy of the group. So they've never had a guy as big as Wemby in terms of, I think, projecting to not only be a superstar, but to embrace everything that comes with superstardom, all the
Yeah.
ancillary stuff, the deals, the movies, the whatever that comes
Yeah.
with being a great player.
I think the most, you're right, but I think the most fascinating thing that I discovered while I was there is that the fit is amazing as far as personality between San Antonio and Wemby, which is that guy, he's 7'5", he's always been out of reach, out of everything that's normal. And he always wanted to belong. He gives
Yeah.
that feeling of always wanting to belong. And uh, I did the whole talking to people working there or Uber drivers or anything, the random people that you meet. And they were like, well, first they were telling me, "Welcome to the smallest big city in the U.S." That's one thing that they told me about San Antonio, and
Yeah,
it
yeah,
really fits the fact that he wants to focus on basketball, focus on the people, and that he wants to blend in. And I think for San Antonio, you're right. The Spurs have always had this image of being such a top secret organization, and it's still gonna be. I mean, as you can
yeah.
feel
No, absolutely,
you can feel with
absolutely.
the young guys. I mean, you're there. There's all this hype, and then there's Pop coming in, and then I could see like RC Buford coming in, and you understand that this is a well-oiled machine, right? Like
Yeah,
nothing
yeah, yeah.
goes through. So I think it's going to be fascinating to see how they approach it. But that guy with a small market team was everything that we could have hoped for, I think,
Yeah.
because in a big city it would have been just a crazy circus, I think.
It would have been yeah, no, it would have been 10 times worse
Oh
in
yeah.
Chicago or LA or someplace like that. But how did you think he fit in with the group? I mean, they got Look, they're doing this thing where Soham was playing point guard. I don't think that really long
I
term is going to
we
work,
agree.
but they're trying different stuff. I get it.
Yeah.
But how was the fit with Vassell and some of the other young players on the team that they've got some young talent on that
Yeah.
team. They're gonna be pretty good in a couple of years. But how was the immediate fit as you saw it?
I think you could see that I came publicly and said that David Vassell is the best player on this team, and
Yeah,
he is.
yeah,
If you watch the games, he is, and you could see the potential between the two of them. That duo, that tandem can basketballistically, they can play together and they can do damage. They
yes,
can, and both ends of the floor. I think they can be amazing. I totally agree with you on the whole Jeremy Sohan plan, but hey, their timeline is we're gonna try and see how it
you're gonna
goes,
try it. Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
So, but I think he fits in. I think he fits in on one thing particularly is that Victor covers so much defensively already
yeah.
that if he was just jacking up, sorry to say it, but if he
No, it's
was
okay.
jacking a jump shot all over
Yeah,
the
yeah,
place and taking step back threes and all this, and he was doing nothing on defense, that would have been a different thing. But you could see it. I talked to Zach Collins and to Devin Vassell and Trey Jones and all this. They're happy that he's got their back. Like
unbelievable.
he talked about it. Devin Vassell. He was like, he can he can be more aggressive on the passing lanes. He can
Yes,
harass his player a little bit more because he knows that if he gambles a little bit, he got a dinosaur behind him just just making sure that he covers him. And in that regard, I think from a sports standpoint, they're going to be fine. I'll just keep an eye on the whole. Um, Wemby is he's creating so much attention. Whatever he breathes,
yeah,
or he
yeah.
takes a jump shot or he dribbles between his legs. Um, I've seen one or two moments where I was like, oh, press conference. They were like, no more Wemby questions because you can get on your nerve. I mean, every
Yeah, yeah,
single
sure,
day you're out
sure.
of your game, and even before talking about your performance, they're like, "What do you think about that alley oop that he did?" Like, and so that's the only component that I will really have a look at. But other than that, he's passing the ball, he's defending, he's blocking shots, he's making sure everything is fine collectively. So I think he's going to fit well.
It's unbelievable. Like you have to see it to believe how much ground he covered.
Right? Hey, we talked about it last
Unbelievable.
June. They
It's unbelievable. There's never been anybody like this guy in terms
right?
of covering ground defensively. He's contesting threes on the other side of the floor in the short corner. That's just insane. Like turns around 2 steps, he's there. Like
Yeah.
it's unbelievable.
The
It's unbelievable.
biggest fear I have for the for the competition is that we could foresee that defensively, we were talking about it last June, he was going to be okay. The floor,
Yeah.
I listened to our podcast last time and we were talking about it. The floor is just, I think Jerry West was saying like he could be like a Bill Russell with like plus plus, which I hope he will be. But
Yeah.
defensively, you
Right.
can see that he can have a great career. But the craziness is that he's just learning the NBA rules right now.
Right. 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 That is it's all scary because he's as inexperienced and as not he's not weak, but as not strong, if
Oh
that's a
yeah,
better term than he's going to be. Like he's
yeah.
going to be way stronger in 2 years and he's going to be way more experienced in 2 years. It's just you just can't believe how good this guy is going to be. It's unbelievable. I
Difference
wanted
is
to
there.
ask you,
Yeah.
yeah, I wanted to ask you since you saw Luka, what did you think of him and how his game has kind of evolved over the last few years?
Luca, well,
Yeah,
he's on a even different level because I think what was fascinating with Luca is that from the first week with Dallas, you could see that all right, the franchise is his now. It took a week for Luca.
yeah, right.
And
Mhm.
the thing that we had in mind when he came into the NBA and that we still have a thing with him is that he was a little chubby and he made an effort this
Yes,
summer. He's
yes,
fit. Luca is
yes,
fit. Luca is in
yes,
MVP mode. He's in.
yes.
I'm gonna take care of my body, and if I do, that's game's over. And so that's the first thing. Second, you can see it right away. He's really worked on the whole three-point shot. He was jacking up sometime because it was the classy move to do jump shots from three step backs. But now
Yeah.
his selection is even better, so he's getting closer to the really dangerous range of like 30, 38, 39% from three, which
Right.
is
Right. Right.
what can you do? And then the last I talked about it the last week. I think was the last piece that he needs is his temper. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
he's sometimes he's losing his man because he's complaining, and
Yes.
sometimes even with Slovenia or with Dallas, sometimes he's just losing it all, and then it's a crazy circus. But he's we did a video today with my partner on our YouTube channel, and we were like, all right, if not Nikola Jokic, who is the best basketball player on the planet?
Yeah.
And I don't even know how you say Luka right now. I
I
don't know
mean,
what's
it's
your take.
him, Giannis. I mean, they're all in the same kind of mix, like. But Luke, from a
Would you
skill,
take would you take Giannis over Luka?
that's a
That's
good
tough.
call. It's a good question. No, it's a good question. Yes, I would. I
Yeah,
would. I think Giannis, because of the way he can impact defensively,
yeah,
is just the offensive piece. Like, he's never going to be a great shooter. I mean, he works, and he shoots 30%. I mean, it just isn't in his bag. You don't have every shot in your bag, right? Like, so,
yeah,
like, you can't do everything. And he does the best he can, but he's just never going to be a great shooter. But he transcends his bad shooting or his mediocre shooting. Let's put it that
yeah,
way, just
yeah,
because of his ability to get to the basket and to attack and to finish through contact, all those things, right? So, and then the defensive piece is just so impactful with his ability to recover and help and block
yeah.
shots. And Luka just doesn't impact that end of the floor at all. He just doesn't, and
No, yeah.
I'm not angry with him, but that's just the reality. He doesn't impact defense at all.
That's how it
So
is. You're right.
now he's
Yeah,
better offensively by far. It's not close. By offensively, he is much more dynamic, much more of a complete player who can score, shoot, pass, all of those things. But I just think the defensive piece matters, and especially at playoff time, it just
Do
matters
you
so
think
much.
him and Kyrie, as far as the backcourt, like defensively, that's going to cause them problems in the playoffs here?
Yes, that's why they went and got Lively. You know what I mean? Like, they
Yeah,
understood that they needed some help at the rim, and they got guys that actually can help protect the rim. And so that, to me, I thought they had a great offseason in that regard, adding the
yeah,
guys that they added, understanding that they were a minus at defensively in the
yeah.
paint, and they've gotten much better. I think this kid Lively is going to be a hell of a player.
He's gonna be
So
good. He's gonna be
yeah,
good. Yeah.
so I like what they did. Now you also saw them against Houston, right? You saw the Spurs
Right.
against Houston.
Yeah.
Now I am stunned. Stunned is not the right word. I'm surprised at how quickly Houston's kind of come around. Now, you obviously knew Şengün before he got to the league.
Yeah.
I just wonder what I've always liked his game, but he is really, wow. He's really surprised me with how much he's improved.
The talent has always been there.
Yeah.
It's what got so much attention when he was playing in the younger competition. You could see the talent.
Yeah.
The the sky is the limit, but what we didn't know is on a scale like back then. I think you remember what NS Kenner did to the. I think it was the Hoop Summit.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Kenner he just destroyed the Hoop Summit. I think,
Yes. Yes.
and people were like, oh my gosh, like this guy is the next best power forward in the NBA. And what we quickly found out is that the seriousness and the defensive approach was not there,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
collective approach. And Alp, he's making strides. We already see that with Ime Udoka's approach, and with Fred Van Fleet's and Jeff Green's, and with all those
Yeah.
guys. You
Yeah.
could see from the warm up. I was watching them warm up and do their practice and everything, and you could see the veterans just and the assistants. I think Thiago Splitter is with the team now,
Yeah. Right.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
they're giving him all these tools, and you can see now that they have understood his skills. They don't want him to be someone he's not, and when he can be himself, I mean, he's been incredible to start the
Yeah,
season.
he's been unbelievable. I mean, and good for
Yeah.
him, because it's hard, young players on bad teams, it's really hard. You just get bad habits so quickly, and it's
Yeah.
hard to get out of that. So the fact that they were smart enough, I think, not only to bring in Ime and to bring in Van Vliet, but to also bring in a guy like Jeff Green, who's
Oh
just,
yeah, it changed
the
everything.
best
We
vet.
were
Yeah.
Yeah, we were really scared. At Best Vets, you're right. We were really scared last year because we were like, that guy is a diamond in the rough. But
Yeah.
if he's gonna be Andre Drummond just rebounding all those bricks from the KPJs of the world and the Jalen Greens, and I'm
Right.
serious. Yeah, we
No,
were really
no, you're
scared.
right. No, it was hard watching them the last couple of years. It was hard watching because it was
Yeah, it
just my
was.
turn, your turn to take a bad shot. It's just like,
So now I think what really with what clicked is that, so that's one of the first games of the season in San Antonio against the Rockets, and in
yeah,
like money time and the clutch, the number one option, it was no Dylan Brooks, it was no Jalen Green. Pick and roll, Van Fleet, Alper, and Sengun. And
yeah,
if
yeah,
that's how you really start the season, that's it. That tells me what you've done in training camp. That tells me what
yeah,
you've said to the agents, to the players. So I think sky's the limit for this guy, but he's trying defensively, and that was the biggest
yes.
question.
It's all Bastion, you know this. All coaches want you to do is try. If you don't, even if you're not any good at it, just try. Just give me the effort. And
That's
that
why,
alone, we can
yeah,
we can handle the rest. We can cover up some of the other stuff. But
that's why
uh,
NS Kenner is not in the league anymore.
no, you're not wrong. I want to get back to Wemby and just the
Yeah,
the impact in France, because we don't know, you know how many people are staying up to watch the games or getting up early to watch the games,
yeah,
or not going to sleep to watch the games. But
yeah.
what are people saying back home?
Well, there are two sides. So first is there was the what I call the double games against Phoenix, where it was the pinnacle of all this because it was the fifth game of Wemby's career, and now he's dropping 38
Yeah, 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 right, right,
and
right.
being
Yeah,
clutch and blocking things, and Kevin Durant is in press conference saying that guy is going to create his own lane. So it was just a big storm, and for French people who've known the NBA for a long time, there were like comparisons to Shaq's debut with
mm-hmm.
Orlando, where they were like nobody's done those stats in the first 5 games. So I think that was the first side of the story. They were like, this guy is really it. And then there is the effect of the last 5 games, which is a lot of people stay up to watch the games. Um, but people are really on their they're nervous because of how he's used offensively.
Hmm.
And not that they want or we want him to have like 25 shots a game, but there is a little bit of nervousness from people on how much is he going to be used and how is he going to be during the season. So I think thus far it's been pretty good with the big storm and everything, and you can see it. I was in San Antonio, and there were French TVs calling me to do skits and videos from San
Yeah,
Antonio, and
yeah,
different TV shows and radios trying to have their own little moments, and newspapers as well. But I think it's more. I think there are, as you know, Da, there are so many different topics around the world that people need to talk about nowadays,
yeah,
and so I think Wemby's window was 3 or 4 days around this
yeah.
Phoenix Suns game, and then there goes Kylian Mbappe, or there
Right,
goes
right, right, right,
Belgrade,
right, right.
or
Yeah,
there
yeah,
goes something else, or Paris Olympics. So it's gonna come back if he does a crazy performance. Um, but we talked even more about Nicolas Batum being traded more than anything.
I saw Batum last week in Philly actually and talked to him for a few minutes. He gave Embiid the finger, by the way.
Oh yeah,
for the Olympics. I said, you can't give your man the finger. Come on. He was like, he betrayed us, you know.
You betrayed us. Yeah. Well, thanks for the tips.
Right.
Yeah.
But
No,
no,
but
he's
I think Wemby, as far as your question, I think it's a process, and people don't know when to jump on the bandwagon. But you know how it is, Da. If you don't win, how come we talk about you? Like
yeah, that's right.
so.
Are people genuinely pissed at MB for not picking France?
It's I think it's 80-20. 80% yes, they're pissed. 20% they're
Yeah,
not. In the
yeah,
20% you got, he had as much business with France as he had with the US. I mean, it's not
right,
as if like, he grew up or blah
right,
blah
right,
blah.
right,
He already got family, but still, it's not as if like he was there.
right.
Um, I think it's more people are pissed. I don't know if it's like this in the US because now it's with Team USA, but it's more Embiid as a personality, what he showed thus far. And
Hmm.
I think people were kind of pissed in that whole approach of he's doing all the celebrations and he's choking in the playoffs and he can't have a 3-2 lead against Boston and close it out. And now here comes another salvo of Embiid not being trustworthy. See, that's what was the main reaction
Right.
from I think from French people was like, all right, it's fine. Still, we got Katie, half Bill Russell, half
Yeah.
Rudy Gobert's
Yeah.
coming in,
Right.
and 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 a lot of kids coming in the next few years in the draft who are going to be crazy good. So
Dude,
it was just I think we cannot wait to face him. I think
yeah.
that's the thing because of Victor and the national team, they don't forget.
No, they don't.
They don't.
And with him, I'm not gonna say they automatically win the gold, but they have a hell of a. They'd be on the medal stand for sure with him, right? I mean,
Oh
there's no doubt. Him and
yeah,
Wemby, are you kidding? Like,
yeah.
like,
But that's
you
why
know,
I think I know it's gonna be funny if when the Sixers play the Spurs just to see how it goes.
yeah,
If there's
yeah,
one or two messages because I wouldn't be surprised that Embiid gives a little a little friendly bump like
sure,
a little
sure,
yeah just
sure.
USA and then Wemby just comes back with something that we haven't seen before and he goes
All
like
right.
yeah you missed it.
So my man Koulibaly, he's got a shot now. I think he's got a shot to be on the team, right? Come on now.
You mean
That's
an
my
NBA team or the
no,
Washington
no, no, the
Wizards?
Olympic team. The Olympic team. Well, yeah, he'll
Well,
be on an NBA team eventually. just not this year. This is a gap year for him. There.
this is a recreation park, right?
Oh my God! But I tell you what, he's playing great. He is playing great for them.
He's
He is
got
the
it.
one.
He's got it.
Yeah.
He wants it. But yeah, he's got a chance to be with the French national team. Not gonna lie to you, Da. Our biggest issue with the federation is are there gonna be some major changes? Because remember, we totally effed up the World Cup. Uh,
Yes. Yeah.
got out
Right.
in the first round.
Right.
And so
Right.
there were talks about firing the coach, Vincent Collet, who
Yeah.
was Wemby's coach when
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
played his last season in France. I think that's the biggest question is it going to be the same guy at the head of the team? And if not, who will? Because that guy, he's going to have Wemby and Bilal. Like, that's minimum.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, for next year's draft, there are already two French kids who are in the top 10 of,
Star for
yeah,
sure. Right. Star is
are.
going to be. He could go number one. He looks great so far.
Yeah, yeah. And Rizaché, who's another one, who's the son of a former French national team player, who's really great, some kind of a Gordon Hayward type of player. And
Hmm.
there's a lot of talent, but Bilal and Wemby are going to be the face of French
Yeah.
basketball in the next 15 years. That's for sure.
Yeah. I'll tell you this in all seriousness, like people in here in Washington, like the Wizards have been so bad for so long. They just wanted them to do it the right way, to start over and
Oh yeah,
try to build through the draft and with young guys. And so as bad as they've been, and they've been horrible, people are okay with it because Bilal has been so encouraging. Like he
that's
is
dope.
doing things every game that are like, wow, this kid's
Yeah,
really good. Like he's
yeah,
got a
yeah, yeah.
chance to be really good. So
You
they're
can.
not as down as they would be because he's really had his moments. And I think they're being smart. They're bringing him off the bench. They're not starting him yet.
Yeah.
Um,
No, please.
yeah. So he's been good. He's been really good. He's been really good.
He's
Look, what is your ultimate expectation this year? Not in terms of the record with the Spurs, but just where do you think Wemby will be in terms of his development as an NBA player by the end of the year? Do you think he'll have mastered everything, or will there still be things he needs to work on?
no, it's going to be a process. Obviously, it's going to take a few years.
Yeah,
I think at the end of the year, I think the biggest thing is we're going to see how they handle 48 minutes games, because you can see now that the Spurs games are like really young teams games, which is
yeah.
12 minutes of greatness, then
Mhm.
60 minutes of what the hell just happened, and then
No question.
and then 4 minutes of all right, these are veterans. We just got our
Yeah,
ass kicked because they decided to just shut it down. And so I think there are gonna be moments where, just like the Suns game, where they're gonna be like, all right, we've matured, and now we know, and I know as Victor, I know that we can't allow that kind of thing to happen that just happened in December. I think
right,
that's one level that's gonna be interesting. I think as of right now, I don't think he's missed a game, if I'm not
right,
mistaken.
right.
So that's going to be an issue because I know the Spurs, they still want to rest him. So we're
I
going to have to see that.
absolutely expect that. Sure.
And I think after this is Wemby's willingness to be the boss, which means, are there going to be situations where they can see that during clutch moments, the number one, two, and three option is Vassell, Wemby, high pick and roll, and good luck covering this. This
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah. Right,
this
right.
is I think the biggest thing, and I'll just go along the ride because it's that's how it is with Wemby. You just have to jump in, and it's so different from everything that you've seen that you need a full year to
Yeah.
just really realize. But I'm looking forward to veterans around him, because that's the number one struggle that I think they have, is like they make, I love Trey Jones, but they make him like if he's Chris Paul. Breaking news, he's not Chris Paul. And
Mm.
so they need that
They need
guy
a
who's
point
going to
guard. They need a point guard.
yeah, and a guy who's been through the trenches and who's going to tell Wemby the tricks and little things about the NBA.
Yeah.
But on talent alone, I mean, is he's going to surprise us anyway. I don't know what's your expectation for him. There you go. That's a question for
I'm.
you. What's
I
your
mean,
expectation for Wemby?
I think he will be. He'll get some votes for All NBA. I don't have any doubt about that. I don't think he'll make it, but he'll get votes. He's.
All defensive.
Yeah, I think so, and I think he'll. Rookie of the year is kind of a weird thing because it really kind of comes down to how many games you play. And to your point, if they hold him out for rest and stuff like that, and Holmgren's going to put up numbers in Oklahoma City, so it could be, it's possible that he could not win Rookie of the Year. It doesn't mean he wasn't the best rookie. It just means voters vote on different
Yeah.
things. So, but I suspect he will have established himself as a defensive force, unlike any we've seen already, by the end of the first year. And then the offensive piece that's going to come. I don't think there's any, he's already shown he's a 3-level scorer, right? So, it's just a matter of where is he most comfortable dominating at? And that's what I don't know yet with him. I don't know if he, does he like high pick and rolls? Does he like the duck ins that they run? I don't know. So that's what I don't know. But that's what you have a year to do, to kind of mix and match and try different things and different lineups. So, but he will be well on his way to being one of the top 5 players in this league.
Oh yeah.
By the end of this season. I don't have any doubt.
And the players already see it. They can see when there's a phenomenon, like a guy who's really good, or does he know and understand the game. And you can see when players talk about him, they're like, he understands the game. Like
He
when you
gets
hear
it.
Draymond and
Yeah.
KD, they say, "Oh, he's not. You cannot fool around him." They're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you've seen this DA. There's like I don't know how many, maybe 20,000 different NBA players podcasts nowadays.
Yeah.
uh,
Right.
and
Right.
they all talk about my first time facing Wemby, like Paul George and then
Sure.
Draymond,
Sure.
and they all say that he's got it. He's understood what it's like. One little detail that I didn't mention, I just had the numbers on just right. I looked up right now. I
Yeah.
think free throws attempts. I think Wemby, when he understands the whole tricks by the end of
Yes.
like April,
Right.
it's not going to be 3 or 4 or 5 attempts a game. He's going to be like, all right, pump fake. You jumped. I just bump
Yeah.
in. There you
Yeah.
go. 2 free throws.
Yeah. 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 No,
He
once
can
he
go
learns,
close to 8, 9, and that's where you become elite.
yeah, and he'll get 4 free throws a game because referees tend to give, that's what
Oh
they'll
yeah,
do for superstars. Once he establishes he knows how to draw fouls,
yeah,
he'll live at the line. He'll live at the line. So yeah, I
yeah,
mean, I just think he's going to be unbelievable. And and the to your point, like you said, the star players don't begrudge him being a star. You know what I
oh no,
mean? Like
yeah,
you can tell when the star guys are like, yeah, this kid is all hype. He's not about this life. But they all is like big respect for this kid. They
oh
understand
yeah,
how good he is and that he's put the work in to be this good, and so
yeah,
and then when you have these viral videos of him, of his pregame routine, that's Steph level. That's
oh yeah.
usually you get. You know what I mean? You don't usually get hundreds of thousands of views of dribbling,
No,
dribbling drills, and that his goes through the roof because people understand now he's this good. He really is this good. Like
yeah,
so
he
that
opened.
respect is big.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the respect that you're talking about, and it's always tough when you come up with all that hype and all the players were saying was like, all right, cannot wait to face him, cannot wait to
Right.
face him, and then you can see him facing really tough guys, and they're like, oh, like he quietly almost put up 30 against the Wolves, who are like the
Right.
number 1 defense in the NBA.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
faced the Suns, and he was like, all right, 38, and I didn't even like, I don't
Yeah.
care. And they're gonna go at him when he goes to the Madison Square Garden, and he
Sure.
just has one of his worst games. But that's how it is. I think
It's
you're
life.
right.
It happens. It happens. Nobody.
That's
I mean, it's okay. Like nobody. He's not gonna be a hit every night. You're gonna have bad nights. 82 games, long season. Like
yeah. I just
so.
hope
Yeah.
you have more experience than me on so many different things as far as the NBA. And there's one thing that I've always witnessed. I wanted your take on this. Is
Yeah.
you see often you have that it's like a really bad movie where you have the rise of the hero, where he goes like everyone is on the wagon
Yeah.
and he goes like
Yeah.
right. At some point, everyone was on Luka. They were like, "Oh my God, Luka Doncic! Did you see him faking behind the back and all this?" And
Yeah.
then it
Yeah.
started. I just cannot wait to see, and I want you to take on this on when people are going to be like, "All right, NBA, cut with the bull. We've had enough about dribbling skills and everything." So
Yeah.
that's I don't know when do you think it's going to come soon or
Won't be this year. It won't be this year
no?
because it's all about the. He'll have 10 more games where he's just unbelievable, and so it won't be this year. But eventually, like the NBA, it's usually get a runway of a year and a half, and then people are like, yeah, but they're not winning. They're not winning enough, or they're not winning fun enough, whatever it is. So they'll find some reason to slap them down. But to your point, they got to add more talent around them. They need to bring a couple of vets in that can help them kind of navigate this piece. They need a point guard. It could all be the same person. It could be one really good veteran point guard, like if they can find that person.
Good.
But yeah, it'll come. There's always, like you said, there's always that you get slapped down after you achieve whatever it is you achieve because it wasn't enough or you did it wrong or whatever. But then there's the redemption arc. You know what I mean? Like, so it follows it immediately. oh, but now he's persevered and he's gone through
Oh,
so
yeah.
much and all that. And now he's a winner.
They
You know,
were,
like,
yeah, they were
you
saying
know what
that
I mean?
Giannis was amazing, and then he was like a football player who couldn't play against the
Right.
zone,
Exactly.
and then they
Exactly.
were there. So I cannot wait for this. But the thing is that he's so exceptional in everything that we've seen thus far is that I don't even know how people are going to react to Wemby's arc. Like, is it going to be like others, or is he, as always, going to be different?
It's going to be, I think it's going to be different just because he's different, right? Like he's not just, it's all of the things. He's not just 7'5". He's not just the most skilled offensive 7'5" player we've ever seen. He's not just the most amazing defensive player we've ever seen at
Right?
that size. He's not just French. He's not just, like it's all of it, right? Like there's never
Yeah.
been anybody that had all of that in one package. And
Do
so
you think he should be? Do you think he should be meaner?
he will be. He will be.
I'm
I
asking
remember
because
that.
there's this whole image about European versus American where you pump up your
No, but
chest
you
a
know
little
what?
bit.
When Blake Griffin came into the league, when he was the number one pick and had a lot of hype coming in because he was a dunking machine, he had a
Yeah.
lot of hype coming in, and there was a narrative that he's too soft. Blake's too soft. Blake's too soft. So he one night in year 3, I think it was, he just had enough, and he turned around and clocked the guy, and everybody was like, "Okay, we're good now." like
Yeah.
they just want to see you do it. They're not going to keep testing you
Oh
once they
yeah.
see you turn around and hit the guy. And so Wemby's just going to have to turn around and hit a guy, and then it'll be over. Then they won't mess with him anymore on that.
I don't think Wemby even has to turn around to slap a guy.
Right. He can just do a backhand, right?
It's
But
like
that's
a
all he has to
backhand
do.
like this, just slap
Yeah,
from
exactly.
anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, but once he does that, they'll leave him alone. They'll test him until he turns around and pops a guy, and then they'll leave him alone. That's the league. That's what you got to do. Eventually, you got to do it, and then it's over. But he'll
Yeah.
be fine after that. I don't think because he's not. I mean, he's not thought of right now as a soft player. You know what I mean? Like that's
No.
not what people think of him. Maybe you think he's a finesse player, but he's not soft. There's nobody that
No.
thinks this kid's soft. You know what I mean? So, but they will challenge him physically because that's just what you do
Right.
when teams get good and when they're, when the team hasn't been in the playoffs. And when they get to the playoffs, it gets more physical, and they're going to try to punk him. And he's just going to have to show he can't be punked, And one way you do that is by getting to the foul line 15 times. But another way is just turning around and popping a guy. And that's what he's going to have to do. And he will, and he'll be fine. And that'll be the end of it.
I'll remember that day when Wemby's gonna clock someone and I'll be like, hey, DA announced it.
Yeah, it'll
He just did
happen.
it.
That's it because you get tired of getting hit. Everybody does. And you
Yeah.
got to handle it, and he
Okay.
will. He's not a punk. I don't think anyone thinks he's a punk.
No, you're
But
right.
Bastien, this is great, man. I always love talking to you. You bring it
You do.
straight, no chaser. I like that. And you obviously you love the game as much as I do, and I love people that love basketball. So,
Well, thank
man.
you as always. As I told your colleagues, it's gonna be coffee time soon because games against I think
that's
it's
right.
Wemby against Chet Holmgren is at like
Against Chet.
1:30
Yeah.
in the morning in here. So
Get that 5-hour energy in you, baby.
let's go. Got 7. That's right.
Oh man, thank you for joining us, man. And hey,
you, dear.
y'all thank y'all for listening in. Leave that 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you get this fine American podcast. And as Marcus would say, if you can't leave a 5-star review, keep it to yourself, you haters. Or we're gonna send Wemby in there to slap the shit out of you.
That's right.